Hi, I'm Daphne from Daps Makeup, here to talk about, which I'm really excited about, the Tom Ford new Rose Exposed palette. My last video, I did the new YSL Valentine's Day palette. Well, Tom Ford has one as well. And I'm just opening it up, but the packaging, the embossing, it is special. I do believe this is limited edition. So let's break this down. Now with Tom Ford palettes, they always come in a dust bag. Now normally it's black, but to match the red casing, this time it is a red dust bag, and you can see, hopefully you can see the Tom Ford leathering. It's got that like velvety texture to it to protect your palette. And then once again, normally this would be in black, but it's in all red. The information is on the back. And then when you open up, it has this rose flower embossing. Oh, beautiful mirror, Tom Ford on there as well. Even the little brushes that we never use, they're in the same red instead of black. So I mean, Tom Ford definitely did it right when it came to packaging and making this special. Now, for that reason, I guess, he also increased the price. Now, as if these aren't expensive enough. I remember back in the day when they used to be like $88, which was already expensive. Then it went to $90. Now, you can still get some palettes for $90, but some of these palettes are now $95. How much is this one? $100. So yeah, for all this red color and this embossing, now you have to pay $100, and this is limited edition. Now I have to admit, I had a lovely friend who had an extra one of these and sold it to me at a discount. I was lucky enough to not have to pay full price, because $100 is pretty steep. And this color story, although gorgeous, I can't necessarily say, oh my God, it's so unique. But what we're gonna do is, as always, I like to try to give you a demo video. I do have the shadows on my eyes now. I'll move up closer. And I only use these 4 shades. I made certain to not bring in any other shadows and to incorporate all 4 shades into this look. So I'm going to show you a demo video showing you how I created this eye look. We'll do swatches together. And then what I'm also going to do is I pulled out, by the way, I own a lot of Tom Ford. I was looking back. I own 20 other Tom Ford palettes. And mind you, I actually also gave away like 5 others to my mom. Yeah. What I did is I tried to pick out palettes that I thought might have a similar color story. So I brought 4 other palettes out that we'll also compare and see how similar they are to this Valentine's Day palette. Is it worth it? Because Tom Ford is notorious these days, in these recent years, to be just kind of repackaging the same shadows, or, just really creating very similar shadows. So we'll talk about, how unique or not so unique this color story is. But it is a beautiful color story, and I am happy that we're back to the wet to dry formula, because that's what made me fall in love with Tom Ford eyeshadows. But yeah, enough talking. Watch the demo video, see how I created this look, and then we'll get to swatch party. All right, let's get to using the Tom Ford Rose Exposed palette. Beautiful packaging. And let's get into this. Now, this is not my first time using the palette. I've already done a couple of looks off camera already. But this will be the first time I'm doing it on camera. Here is another look at the palette. Gorgeous. So we're gonna first go into this shade, and we're gonna go all through the transition. All right, so I've coated my Synergy Jumbo blender, and I am just gonna liberally go through the whole transition. All right, so there you go. It is pigmented, easy to blend. It is so easy. So I went ahead and did it on the other side. Now we're gonna go into this pink shade all over the lid. And we got you in a little closer. And I'm just putting that all over the lid. I'm just doing a really simple look. I'm not trying to overcomplicate this look. So there, that is. All right, now we're gonna go into the lightest shade in the inner corners. There we go. Bringing some brightness into the look. Okay, so there's only one last shade left, the gold shade. Let me see if maybe I can put it on the lower lash line and see if that'll show up there, just so that you can see all 4 shades on the eyes. All right, I hope you can see this shade. You know, gold, you know, especially on my skin tone, can be very similar. It might not pop as much using it on the lower lash line. Maybe I'll try to put it on the outer third of my lid as well, just so you can see it better. Because unfortunately you're not gonna see it like pop like I want to. Or maybe, since it's wet to dry, maybe I'll spray my brush and then apply it. Be right back. So I'm gonna spray my brush, and then I'm gonna dip back into the gold shade. All right, hopefully you can see that better. The gold shade there. What I'm gonna do, so like I said, I wet the brush. I'm gonna also put some of the gold on the outer third. Maybe then you can appreciate it better. Now I am putting it on top of the pink frosty shade, so just giving you a heads up, but I think you can appreciate the gold better there. All right, so I'll do the same on the other side. So here's the eye look thus far. I'm gonna go off camera, finish the makeup look, and then I'll show you when it's all liner, mascara, blush, lipstick, the whole 9 once I'm all done. See you in a sec. All right, so I went off camera, finished the whole makeup look, and I think everything came out gorgeous. Here's a close-up of the eye look. Smoky, classic colors. So, yeah, so that is the look we're doing today together. But now let's sit down and let me tell you what I think of this palette. All right, hope you found that demo video helpful. I have rolled up my sleeves because it is swatch party time. So let's first start, obviously, with the Rose Exposed palette. I'm gonna swatch these, and then we're gonna break out 4 other classic Tom Ford palettes and see how unique this palette is, 'cause especially if you own those other palettes, is it worth it to you to pay $100 for this palette, especially if you are a Tom Ford collector, lover, as I am. Okay, so I have swatched these shades, and I went from the lightest to darkest. So I went from top, this icy shade, to the pink shade, to the gold shade, to the brown burgundy shade. So these are the 4 shades from this palette. And I'll try to insert a picture, if I haven't already, of maybe a more pristine picture, because I've been using this, you know, this is like my 3rd eye look. I've swatched this palette a few times, so you can already see the embossing is slow. I'm starting to lose, you know, it's not totally gone, but you know, obviously I'm starting to lose the embossing a little bit. I think it'll last a decent while, but obviously it's not gonna have that pristine look that I had originally. Okay, let me pull out another palette. I'm gonna pull out Honeymoon. I'm pulling this out because, you know, this is one of the most beloved palettes from Tom Ford. And this is the palette in particular that he loves to, in these last few years, keep putting different, in the past years, like he would take this exact palette and just put in different color packaging or put special embossing and make you feel like it was a new palette, and it wasn't. And he was just repurposing the same palette all over again. So let's see how different this palette is to Rose Exposed. It is not the exact same, so, you know, but let's see how similar it is. So I'm gonna go swatch, and then we're gonna take a look. Okay. So I have swatched Honeymoon, and I went from this shade to this one, and then this shade to this one. So looking at, so we got Rose Exposed up here, and then we got Honeymoon up here. Sorry if you can't see this clearly, but looking down at the palettes, to me, what I would say is, and actually, let me bring out the palette. Okay, just so you can also see. They're not the same, so if you have Honeymoon, you don't have to worry about them being the same. So number 1, with the Rose Exposed, you have this icier shade, which is definitely different from these. Then Honeymoon gets into these more gold shades. Now there is a gold here. What I'd say is these are more bronzier in the Honeymoon, where comparatively this gold is almost rose gold. So it's not the same gold. Then, you know, you have this light pinky, icy pink shade, where this is a true like rosy red shade. And then the ones that are going to be the most similar is this shade and this shade. Those two are admittedly very similar. Now, I will say, I feel like the one from Honeymoon is deeper. It is more pigmented and deep. So that's what I would say is a big difference. This is deeper, more brown. This is a little bit lighter and has a little bit more rosiness to it. But I would say they're still different enough that you don't have to feel like you're having a dupe. What I'm going to do for save space, I'm going to leave the Rose Exposed on my arm, but now I'm going to wash off the Honeymoon and put a different palette in, and we'll just keep rotating different palettes against Rose Exposed. Okay. Next, I'm bringing out one of my faves, and this is Mercurial. I don't know if at that time, if this was a limited edition shade where like Honeymoon is just, you know, a classic that Tom Ford will always sell. This might have been a limited edition shade, and you can tell also because the silver packaging versus, just pulling out the Honeymoon. This is a classic packaging from Tom Ford. Now you can also tell I have one of the original packagings because there's no TF. The newer packaging now has TF, but it's this, dark brown, almost black shade. That's a classic shade. So when you see a silver like this, and that means limited edition. But in case you have it, let's swatch. So I'm gonna put it right next to Rose Exposed, and then I'll tell you what I think about the shades. Hey, this is gonna be an interesting one. So I have it down here. So once again, Rose Exposed is up here, and then down here is Mercurial. So number one, I don't know if maybe, and it might be maybe wiping off my arm, you know, I try to let it dry, but maybe I didn't let it dry enough because they're just looking so much more pigmented. Remember, this is the wet to dry, so if you wet it, they will be more intense. So maybe my arm wasn't dry enough, and that's why they're just coming out more pigmented. But let's just go with, just talk about the shades. How do they compare to Rose Exposed? Well, what I would say is, interestingly enough, so the top two here, and once again, I'm going to put them side by side. So, on both of them, I started with the top two here. They both have an icy shade and then an icy pink shade. They're similar. Like I said, maybe my arm is not dry enough, but it almost seems like this is more pigmented than this. Now the bottom two shades are definitely different. The bottom two shades are basically like Honeymoon. I feel like at this time, he took this bottom two shades from Honeymoon, put it in Mercurial, and then he gave us these two unique shades at that time. Now, like I said, this Mercurial is now gone. It was limited edition. So it's almost like he brought back these two and put it here, but a softer version. So Rose Exposed kind of gives me the top two of, like Mercurial is basically the top two of Rose Exposed and the bottom two of Honeymoon. It's very interesting. It's like actually a palette that kind of falls in between. So, I mean, I don't know, you know, like if you have Mercurial, do you need this one? The top two shades are kind of the same. I mean, so I guess if you have Mercurial and Honeymoon, then maybe you don't need this one, I would say. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next palette. The next one we're gonna do is one called Cognac Rose. Now, it doesn't have any special edition packaging, but for some reason, I feel as if this might have been at the time like a special limited edition from Nordstrom. I don't know why I feel that way. I have to look if this is still available. It might be just in my head, and it is available. But like you could tell, Tom Ford likes this kind of color. Now I have, like I said, I have 15 other palettes besides what you're seeing today. So I do have palettes that have completely different color stories. That's why I'm not bringing it in. So not to say he doesn't do anything different, but this kind of color story, he does like to use a lot. So let me swatch and let's compare. So Once again, the bottom swatches of the Cognac Rose. And then just so you can see them side by side, here they are. I do feel this is different. I thought maybe there might be some similarities. I think the most similar would be the two icy shades. Now, once again, I don't know if it's just because my arm is not fully dry because I'm wiping off my arms. They're coming off more pigmented. I have a feeling that's what it is. Forget pigmentation, but color-wise, the two icy shades are similar. But after that, to be honest, the gold is different. Like I'm realizing like this gold in the Rose Exposed is not as gold as I'm finding in all the other Tom Ford palettes. Like as gold as it looks in this palette, when you swatch it, it's a softer gold. It's more of a rosy gold, not a gold. So every time I swatch other golds from everybody else, it's like more like gold, and this is more bronzy, rosier, softer gold. The brown in the Cognac one, as you can see, it's really a bronzier brown. It's not the deep burgundy kind of browns. And then you have this one, which is kind of like if you mixed, like if I took a Honeymoon, like maybe if you mixed these two together and they made a baby, that's like the in-between of that. But yeah, I would say this palette is definitely different from Rose Exposed. At best, the icy shade might be a little bit comparable, but the other three shades are definitely different from the Cognac Rose. What I'm gonna do is body heat. This one I know is gonna be different, but I just thought I'd throw it in anyway. Now, I have special packaging on this one. It's this pretty light pink packaging. I told you, Tom Ford a lot of times likes to take his classic palettes and just put in new packaging certain years. So this is, you can still get this palette, but it will be in the normal color packaging. It was just at the time I took advantage in getting the special packaging. I didn't own body heat at the time, so it was just nice to have something in a different packaging. But don't be fooled. This is the same classic palette that he's been having for years. So that's what you always have to watch out for. He will try to trick you into buying a palette because of the different packaging, and you have to recognize when he's rehashing a color story, and he's not always very explicit to make it, you know, so you have to kind of look very closely to know, is this a repeat or not? So let me swatch this and then we'll talk. So the bottom four are from Body Heat, and here they are next to each other. You can even see in the pan, it's different. It's different. But I just did it for the hell of it. So even the icy shade is different. This icy shade from Body Heat is almost like the baby. It's in between of these two. It's like an icy pink, but icier than this and pinker than this. So it's kind of like a shade in between of that. This shade is like a rosy, orangey kind of shade. And then these two are like these cool tone, bronzy, browny, gray tone. So, you know, Body Heat's definitely different. So, I mean, yeah, you know, what I could say is, yeah, are there some elements of this palette that you could kind of see in Honeymoon or kind of see in Mercurial, that kind of thing. It's got some of the feeling of some of his older palettes, but I will say they are different shades. So if you are a Tom Ford fanatic, you don't have to feel like you are getting an exact dupe palette. It is a unique palette in terms of it's not exact dupe shades, but obviously it's in that same Honeymoon family, Honeymoon Mercurial family. So yeah, so like, is it worth getting it? So it's a judgment call, because like I said, it's $100, so it's up to you if you're willing to pay for a $100 palette and how much you love Tom Ford. What makes me happy about this palette is that it is the original wet to dry formula, because you know, I got into Tom Ford like around the time of the pandemic, And it was actually good that I got in at that time because by then it's like I was kind of late to the game. And so when I was buying up all my Tom Ford palettes, I was getting them at discount. So when you're like, oh my God, she has 20, 25 palettes. Well, I never paid 100%. I never paid full price for 95% of those palettes. I did not pay full price. I was always going to the CCO, or even department stores were selling them at a discount. So I was always buying them at a discount because I could get them 30 to 60% off. So I mean, a lot of them I was getting like half price, honestly. So I bought them all up, getting them like half price. And then by the time I was caught up and I got all the classic old ones, even when you started bring out new ones, the problem is, like I said, he was starting to just like repackage Honeymoon over and over again, or repackaging Body Heat over and over again. So I wasn't being fooled by that. He was trying new formulas, and to be honest, I've tried some of these newer formulas here and there. Me personally, I prefer the wet to dry. So I have passed on a lot of palettes that he's been putting out lately. But then, you know, when I got a chance to get this one, especially at a discount, I jumped at it because it's the wet to dry formula I love, and it's obviously gorgeous packaging. Why I love the wet to dry formula for anybody who's never used it before. Number one, like you'll notice, like with this shade, there's no matte, right? This is a palette with no matte. But I was able to create this look without a matte. And I used that all through, and it blended beautifully. Now, yes, I could have gone outside of another palette, put a matte, and just put this on my lid, or maybe just deep in the crease. But I wanted to show you how I could use it like a matte, and that's the beauty of it. You can blend it out like a matte, or you can put it down on your lid like a traditional satin shimmer shade. Dry, to be honest, out of laziness and everything, I usually just put them on dry, and I actually am still happy with the payoff with them dry. But if you want to amp it up, you can spray it. You notice I did that with the gold. I felt it was kind of good to do that one because this one doesn't, on my skin tone, doesn't pop as much. It pops, but you know, it popped much more once I wet it. So once I wet it, it popped more. Where this one, I still used it dry, and I hope you can even appreciate how more foily it is. So if you want it to have a more foiled appearance, wet it. And if you like the dry look, then you go dry, and you can mix and match. And so that's the beauty of it. You can have a dry look, you can have a wet look, you can use it on the lid, you can blend it like a matte. It's just beautiful. So I love this formula. It's a special formula. So I know it's really expensive, but no brand quite has Tom Ford does have a unique formula. It's just different. You know, I'm not going to say what's the best eyeshadow formula because that's all personal. But I will say Tom has a unique formula, and it's one of my favorites. You know, like there's certain brands that are known for certain eyeshadow formulas, and this is something that's kind of unique to Tom Ford. So for me, I'm happy with it. It's a color story that's easy to use. It's not revolutionary at all, especially not for Tom Ford. But like, you know, you need an easy, quick look. You don't have to think hard. I can bust this out real quick, bam, 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 and be out. So I appreciate these are classic colors that are easy to use. The formula is easy to use. So it's user-friendly. Packaging is spectacular. So if a $100 palette is within your budget, then I say go for it. But I can understand if $100 is too much, if you consider it's too much for you, or if you feel like you own too many Tom Ford palettes and it's not distinctive of enough for you, or just, you know, if you look at your whole collection, if, you know, these are not just radical shades just in general. So I'm sure you have a gold, bronze, gold, icy pink, like, you know, all these kind of colors I'm sure you probably have. So, you know, you just have to decide for yourself, is it worth your while given your collection and your budget? All right. But nevertheless, I like it. You know, I think my makeup look came out beautifully, and the packaging was just special. I do feel like this is special. So I do believe this is a limited edition for Valentine's Day. So, you know, you know, because normally for palettes that, you know, I would even say for Tom Ford, wait and see if you can get a discount. Hopefully this is something that will show up in the CCO, but then especially because it's limited edition, how long would this last? But you also know limited editions. Yeah, it's limited edition, but it might still hang out for a year. And maybe, you know, like I said, you can get it at a CCO for a discount. Maybe, I don't know. Or you might just say bite the bullet and just get it as a Valentine's Day present for yourself. All right, I've spoken enough. I think you get the point. So that's my opinion on the new Tom Ford Rose Exposed palette. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching to the end, those of you who made it to here. If you aren't already subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing to my channel. But otherwise, I just hope you have a wonderful day. So see you in the next one. Bye.